Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Alright, people, so Teofimo Lopez wins a 10-round split decision over Sandor Martin. Now we got to talk about this fight. I watched this fight this morning, and I knew when I was watching it that Teofimo Lopez had won on a split decision. And from what I saw on Twitter, the majority of people had Sandor Martin winning. Now, I said, okay, sometimes when and this does happen. It does. This is why I don't like it when people say this is a robbery, that's a robbery, this is a robbery. Sometimes a close fight can go either way. You know, it can really just depend. It can go either way. There are examples, of course. You know, you have obviously Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall, but that was a robbery. There's no ifs or buts. That was a just blatant robbery. But you have other fights that are close, and it could go either way. You wouldn't complain either way. And I think the reason why robbery gets thrown around a lot with fights like this, and again, I'm not saying this wasn't a robbery, but hear me out. The reason why a fight like this, a lot of people would perceive it as a robbery, is because going into the fight, many people would have felt Teofimo Lopez was going to win this fight comfortably. Probably stop Sandor Martin. When it didn't go that way, and Martin had a success, dropped Teofimo Lopez in the second round, a lot of people see the success that he's having, and it's amplified because a lot of people didn't expect it. So when you get to the end, and, you know, he's definitely got a claim that he won the fight. If he doesn't get it, a lot of people are like, oh, it's a robbery now. Oh, it's a robbery. A best example I'll give on that is if you ever go back and watch Roy Jones versus Antonio Tarver 1, people, there's no doubt in my mind that Roy Jones won that fight. That was not a robbery. Roy Jones won that fight, and he won it pretty clearly as well. But because Roy Jones wasn't used to losing rounds, you know, if I think Jim Lampley said in all the fights he's had throughout his career on HBO, and at that stage it was many, might have been 20 or 30 fights, something like that, he'd only lost a handful of rounds on Harold Lederman's scorecard. So he wasn't used to losing rounds. So when you have a fight that is competitive, and it was competitive, but Roy Jones still won it, but because it was so competitive, many people perceived that Tarver did better than he did. You go back and watch that fight, watch it just as clear as day. Roy Jones won the fight. There's no question in my mind that he won the fight. No question. I mean, when people were saying, if you've never seen it, it's a robbery, I was like, this wasn't a flip. I'm surprised it was a majority decision, truth be told, because Roy Jones, in my opinion, he won that fight clearly. That's an example. Now, in this fight, I felt that Sandor Martin was unlucky not to get the nod. I felt he was unlucky not to get the nod. I felt that the first round, excuse me, in the first round, Teofimo Lopez, he did what he did against Kambosos. He came out swinging, looking to take Sandor Martin's head off, and Martin, he did box a negative fight throughout. You know, he wasn't looking to get into exchanges or anything like that with Teofimo Lopez, and to be honest with you, you wouldn't want to, because Lopez is a big puncher. You know, you don't want to take unnecessary risks in there unless you absolutely have to. Sandor Martin obviously felt comfy boxing at range, trying to move, trying to walk Teofimo Lopez onto some check right hooks. And it was in the second round, very early, within the first 20 seconds of the second round, Teofimo Lopez bored in, looking to land a big overhand right, and he walked into a check right hook. Now, it landed just on the kind of grazed the forehead of Teofimo Lopez, and Teofimo Lopez went down. I don't necessarily think he was that badly hurt. I think it was a combination of balance and maybe a little bit of, yeah, he would have felt it, but I think it was more balance. He just bored in and just was caught off balance, went down. Correct, referee was right to call it a knockdown. But it seemed from that moment, it's weird, isn't it? When Teofimo Lopez gets dropped, it seems that he needs, it's not like Joshua where he needs rounds to recover from the concussive effect of the shot. But it seems that his technique and everything just seems to go out the window almost completely. Because from the second round, I mean, you could make an argument that up until the sixth round, you could give Sandor Martin all them rounds. Because he was just, as Mark Tibbs would say, he was touching him. You know, he wasn't landing with devastating shots, but he was just touching him. And Teofimo Lopez was just looking to throw swinging shots, looking to get power in them. And he wasn't landing. And the ones that were landing, they were getting blocked. They weren't scoring shots. Whereas Teofimo Lopez, he didn't like the fact that Martin was negative. But Sandor Martin at the end of the day was having success doing that. And it's a real case of what do you like? If it's working for you, if just moving around the ring, looking to pot shot, looking to walk him on to check left hooks or check right hooks, land a couple of straights, because he did land a few straights on Teofimo Lopez in this fight. If that's working, why change it? In America, certainly back in the day, but maybe it is still the case now. I know the fans don't like it. The fans will turn on you if you're being real negative and you're just trying to, as they would say, run. They'll turn on you pretty damn quick. The fans will. And I don't know if the judges like it either, because I think one judge had this fight 97-92, which implies that he only won 2 rounds. One of them was the 10-8 round. I mean, that's bizarre to even insinuate that Sandor Martin, like that judge right there. Teofimo Lopez has some very strange cards. Very strange. Like that 119-109 against Lomachenko. Very strange. But Martin just was doing much more of the same. Teofimo Lopez, I felt later on, started to kind of get into a stride a little bit after the 6th. But I definitely felt that Sandor Martin in this fight he was doing more of what he wanted. He was he was being negative. He was moving around the ring, but he was landing shots. And he wasn't, actually it was a head clash in the first round that, I don't know if it broke Sandor Martin's nose, but it certainly started bleeding. And it was bleeding quite profusely early on. And that didn't seem to deter him. That didn't seem to bother him at all. And then most often than not, when a fighter does have an injury like that, if it's broken or if it's bleeding, they'll be a bit more cognizant about that. And the opponent will often look to target it. And Teofimo Lopez did land some shots on the nose, which did start bleeding again. But Sandor Martin just seemed okay. Like it's nothing. Just kind of casually, it's bleeding. Now I'll just keep boxing, keep punching. And just didn't really seem to affect him in the slightest. So we get to the end of the fight, and Teofimo Lopez was heard asking his dad, and he really needs to get rid of his dad. I wasn't listening to the round by round, but a lot of people were saying it was similar to what happened against George Kambosos. And Teofimo Lopez's dad, he doesn't seem to get it. He really doesn't seem to get it, and I think he gaslights his son. Well, he definitely gaslights him into thinking he's doing better than you. Like, I mean, he 10-2. He was saying, you won 10-2 against George Kambosos. Like, what fight were you watching, mate? He didn't do anything. He kept missing against Kambosos. And it was something similar in this fight. So, Lopez at 140 is... This version of Lopez, he doesn't put a glove on Regis Prograis, and he gets absolutely smashed to pieces, in my opinion, against Regis Prograis. Unless he makes some serious changes. Joey Gamache back in the corner full time. Needs Joey Gamache back in there. Get rid of his dad, or even just minor him to something even lower down. That he's in the corner but he doesn't have any influence or sway. Because I felt he was lucky to get the nod in this fight. I thought Sandor Martin, he was negative. Lopez threw more shots, but I felt that Martin just did enough to nick it. I think it would have been a 96-93 scorecard for Martin would have been fair. 4 rounds for Teofimo. I think that would have been fair. But 97-92, I mean, that's crazy. In terms of Lopez moving forward again, he is, I believe, mandatory although this was a 10-rounder, is he mandatory? I think he might be. He may very well be mandatory for the WBC title, which obviously is held by Regis Prograis. I think they'll keep him away from him, to be honest with you. I think they'll look to go down probably the WBO route, wait for the winner of Taylor Catterall, or if Taylor moves up, fight for the vacant title, maybe against Jack Catterall, I don't know. But yeah, I suspect right now, if Lopez went in there against Regis Prograis would smash him to bits. This version of Lopez. If Lopez can get it back to what he was against Lomachenko, I'd still make Regis Prograis favourite, because I think he's a criminally underrated fighter. He's a very, very, very good fighter. I mean, against Josh Taylor, I think I said this before, if you put Regis Prograis against Taylor 10 times, it wouldn't be Josh Taylor winning 8 or 9 times. It would be close. Josh Taylor might win more, but it could be maybe 6 wins to Taylor, 4 to Prograis, because they're that evenly matched. And Prograis does things... Josh Taylor does things better than Prograis, but Prograis does things better than Josh Taylor. And I think that against Lopez, I mean, you're going to... I've always felt that Prograis has something special in him. I remember when I watched him against Ndongo, I was like, this guy's talented. And I think against someone like Lopez, it would all come together. And this version of Lopez, he ain't beating Regis Prograis. He will get annihilated against Regis Prograis. This version. That's not to say he can't change and improve, but I don't know. I mean, how do you expect to change when the environment you're in is what's making you sick? You know, do you ever hear that saying? And I know you could say it's not making him sick, but it's essentially saying that if you're in an environment that is not bringing out the best in you, you need to change it. How do you expect to improve and bring out the best in you when this environment is the one that's bringing you down? That's causing you to stagnate, if you get me. So that's how I see this fight going. And yeah, thought Sandor Martin, very unlucky not to get the nod in this fight. Very unlucky. Kind of depends what you like. I guess if you like, even though a lot of the shots weren't scoring, but if you like the aggression from Lopez, yeah, that's up to you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. I'll talk to you, people. Peace.